Retired police officers across Nigeria took to the streets on Monday protesting inadequate pensions and poor living conditions. Protests occurred in several states, including Abuja, Edo, Plateau, Kwara, Taraba, and Cross River. In Abuja, protesters braved heavy rain outside the National Assembly, where they were joined by activist Omoyele Sowore. They demanded that the Nigeria Police Force, NPF, exit the contributory pension scheme, arguing that the monthly pension ranging from 14 to 22,000 is insufficient. Retired officers, some in their 60s and 70s, expressed frustration over their treatment after decades of service. A retired chief superintendent of police described the CPS as exploitative and called for an end to it. Other protesters shared stories of struggling on pensions as low as 18,000 and 22,000 after years of service. The protests were not limited to Abuja. In Plateau, over 300 retired officers staged a similar demonstration wearing black to symbolize grief. Retirees in Kwara, Ilorin, and Benin City as well. Now, as reactions continue to trail Monday's protest by retired policemen, Arise news analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to take a further look at the development and the need for improved welfare for retirees. Thank you so much for joining us this beautiful afternoon.
Pleasure.
Absolutely, Mr. Dayo. So, what were your thoughts on this? Looking at this, the protests that were happening and what they're calling for. What's your assessment of this?
My reaction is ambivalent. I love part of it. I do not like part of it. But they have my sympathy. You can see the state of those pensioners. But you see, I think the harm has been done in the past. And for almost some of them, the redress is almost too late. But those in the police now are enjoying what they did not have the opportunity to enjoy. In fact, there is an article in This Day Today on this issue. So my own take is that the harm has been done long in the past, but can still be corrected. They need to do a salary review for police officers from chief superintendent downwards. They need to do that. And maybe add something to it to compensate them. Because if you see the parallel state in which they are, they need some compensation, and they need some redress, economic redress for their plight. You see, there was a time we discussed police being taken out of the contributory pension scheme. Maybe you remember?
Yes.
And I was for that. Because if you want people to protect our rule of law and create law and order, you must make them have commitment. We should not borrow from some democratic states in the United States who practice defunding the police. They've done it, and that's why they lost the election. Because, crime, so many anti-law issues came to the forefront, and people fled some states to go into safer states. So they need some remuneration adjustment to their pensions. And I honestly think the Police Service Commission should come in. Government too should come in and do something. But then, the other side that I said I do not very much like is that they cannot take the law into their hands in protest. They have no right to protest. They are law enforcement instruments. And if they must protest and they get to their head office and they tell them to disband, by force they stay there, that's hooliganism. That's not trade unionism. That's not trade unionism. They are involved in collective bargaining. Almost, although after, it's like closing the stable doors when the horses are bolted. You get me? And the current set of people who are in service are not helping their own matters. Because people may not be terribly sympathetic when they see policemen protesting. Because the image they have is that they don't even live on their salaries. They have extra income. and they are always all comfortable. So how this sort of people came into this degenerate state, physical state, is very appalling. It's a contrast to what image the present set of police have. So there is that ambivalent attitude that I have to them. They have my pity, and at the same time, they don't have my sympathy. Another aspect of it. That's it.
What's up, Mr. Sobowale? I like the balance that you brought to it. Let's look at potential unintended consequences of this protest. For instance, if I was to pretend to step into the shoes of a serving police officer and I saw this, I'm wondering how I would feel motivated to go about my duties, knowing that this could be my story in a few years. And at the same time, when you gave that example of the assumption that police have other extra income, do you think that situations like this only motivate more of such actions?
A dangerous, controversial question, but I will attempt an answer. You see, and I will give an example. So you know the police is public service?
Yes.
It was the army that came in during Muta last time and sacked civil servants for embezzlement, and rightly so, for embezzlement and corruption. But then, before then, people used long service, 25 years, 30 years. But at the end of the day, they would know they will get their pension. But when they cut down people in the middle of career like that, people started telling each other that you make hay while the sun shines, and you make use of your position to accumulate wealth. That was how corruption set in. Of course, not all Nigerians are corrupt. As you can see, these people you have seen there at 60, 70, they couldn't have been corrupt and be in that parallel state. So that is the situation. That is the situation. The system is ridden with corruption, but there are still people who are honest and are doing their jobs dutifully and live on their salaries. Do I answer your question? So next.
I just want to speak on that. I would like you to speak on the irony of this situation. Just looking at that video, you know, the police interference in the protest that borders on the police at the same time. So, I mean, the police fighting itself almost. What does this speak about the systemic issue that has led to this protest, and also the future of the current officers within the police force?
Like she rightly observed, none of the current officers want to be in this state. They have seen these elderly people. And I assure you, the current group of officers, if you say young police officers, you know they are very well off. So it's not those sort of people doing this sort of thing, although they may be fighting for them. But like I said, these people, this is a fight that they should have done much earlier. And you see, it's not as if the system is blind to their plight. You get me? Like when we discussed that, all they need now is legislation to bring them out of the contributory pension scheme. Because these are the victims of the contributory pension scheme. They contributed. So they are saying that what they are taking is part of what they have contributed. Whereas that is what happens in the private sector. I'm a pensioner. They take from your salary, and at the end you take gratuity, and you take in banking, oil, and so on, take good pension. But you see, the police should be able to enjoy being outside of it, like the soldiers, like the security people, so that even if they die on the job, they know their family is being looked after. It's a case of balancing the rule of law with the take-home pay of those who implement the rule of law, which is what they are, and they are not looking very well for that duty, and that's very sad. Right.
Great analysis in spite of the nature of the subject. At least we now know why your granddaughter calls you the superstar. Yes. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Dayo Sobowale, for joining us. Thank you.